I would like to extend a warm welcome to members of the Council, officers and members of the public and press in attendance at this Council meeting of 11th of October 2021. Welcome to those who may be watching the meeting live on YouTube. I am Councillor Derek Tipp, Chairman of the Council. Please note that this meeting is being broadcast live on the Council's website and on YouTube. It will remain available for a minimum of 12 months. I would remind those in attendance to use your microphone when speaking and remember to switch it off once you have finished speaking. Please switch any mobile devices to a silent setting for the duration of the meeting. We will start with our usual moment silence. Apologies. Interim Chief Executive, do you have any apologies to report?
Thank you, Chairman. I have received apologies from Councillor Jack Davis, Councillor Duke, Councillor Gossage, Councillor Hoare, Councillor Rackham, Councillor Riley, Councillor Rippon-Swain, Councillor Still and Councillor Malcolm Wade. Are there any other apologies?
Chairman.
Councillor Holding, any other apologies?
Councillor Steve Clark.
Steve Clark.
And Louise Sarasoli.
And Louise Sarasoli. Thank you.
Item 1, minutes. Do members agree the minutes of the meeting held on the 6th of September 2021 as a correct record? Agenda item 2, declarations of interests. Are there any declarations of interests in connection with an agenda item for this meeting?
Chairman, item 6, report of Cabinet. Item 4, therein the GMWAMS or Joint Municipal Waste Management Strategy. Obviously, as a county councillor, this has an impact, but I am advised that it's just for information, it's not pecuniary interest.
No others? Thank you very much. Agenda item 3, Chairman's announcements. Former Chief Executive Peter Bassett. Members, it is with great sadness that I have learned that former NFDC Chief Executive Peter Bassett passed away in August. Peter was instrumental in the creation of this council in 1974, following the Local Government Act of 1972. Peter served the Council of Chief Executive until 1989. Members, I would like to express our sincere condolences to Peter's family and friends and recognise the significant service he has given to this district. Engagements. Members, on the 16th of September, I attended Test Valley Borough Council's Showcasing Test Valley event. On the 18th of September, I attended the investiture of New Milton Town Mayor, Councillor Keith Craze. On the 20th of September, I attended Hampshire County Council Civic Day, and yesterday, I attended the civic service of the Mayor of Christchurch at Christchurch Priory. My thanks to the Vice Chairman who attended the Harvest Sunday service at Winchester Cathedral on Sunday, the 3rd of October, following an invitation from the Dean and Chapter of the Cathedral. Agenda item 4, Leaders' Announcements. Leader of the Council, do you have any announcements?
Chairman, thank you. I do. I want to update members on the situation with our waste and recycling service. Members will know that along with other councils, the ongoing shortage of staff and HGV drivers across the country is having an impact on some of our waste and recycling services. Our residents have been patient and supportive, and I know our staff are working extremely hard in difficult circumstances. Managers and supervisors in the service are doing all they can to alleviate the pressures on the service, working with staff from other council-wide services, agency staff, and recruiting where they can fill driver vacancies. They are having to respond day by day, assessing the staffing levels available and rightly prioritising collecting the black and clear sack waste. This has meant some of our services are experiencing disruption. Garden waste was temporarily poor, some glass collections have not taken place, bulky waste is currently suspended and the delivery of sacks is behind schedule. This disruption will continue for some time, with a bigger impact on glass collections. Priority will continue to be the first collecting black and clear sacks, then 4 weekly garden waste, and then glass collections. We will keep working towards the most effective waste collection service for our community with the resources we currently have available to us. HGV driver vacancies will continue to be recruited for, and we'll review our current service arrangements at the Cabinet meeting on the 3rd of November. I would ask our residents and community to follow our update on the website, social media and text messaging system. And we ask again for your tolerance and forbearance. We apologise for the current disruption to our collection services, but we want to assure the public that whilst we respond to national challenges, we are working on developing our service for the better. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you very much, Leader. I now move to agenda item 5, notice of petition. Members, the Council has received a petition from Gilly Jones, representing the New Forest Speed Awareness Campaign. The petition is signed by 3,557 people who, in accordance with the Council's petition scheme, live or work in the district. The petition asks the Council to add its support to calls for the introduction of an average speed camera system on the B3078 Roger Penny Way. Further, I am aware that a similar petition was arranged on the website change.org by Sarah Weston, which attracted more than 50,000 signatures from across the world. In accordance with Council procedures, I would like to invite Gilly Jones to speak for up to 5 minutes in support of the petition on the agenda. I would then like to invite Sarah Weston to speak for up to 5 minutes, given the relevance of her petition to this matter. The Council will then debate the petition on the Council agenda for up to 15 minutes. Gilly Jones, I first invite you to present your petition.
Good evening, Chairman, Councillors. This petition was started after the horrific spate of accidents involving commoners' stock in December last year. I'm a practising commoner, spokesman for social media group New Forest Road Awareness. I also sit on other panels, including the Animal Accident Reduction Group. I also work with Hampshire Police and do regular community speed watch operations on the B3078. Calls for average speed cameras aren't new. Many organisations have worked with this as a goal for many years, but I feel now is the right time for all stakeholders to work together to get the number of animal accidents reduced. Work done by the Animal Accident Reduction Group has already shown, with this collaboration, that we're getting some successful work done. The Commoners Defence Association have done a massive amount of feasibility work on average speed cameras and have found that it is viable. With the necessary building of new homes on towns on the outskirts of open forest, I feel little has been done on how this increase of traffic will impact on forest roads. With this planning application for housing in Ringwood, Fordingbridge, Totton, Lymington and the huge Fawley Waterside development, it is of course going to increase day-to-day use of forest roads. Add to this the huge amount of visitors coming every year to enjoy the area. The Roger Penny Way has always been the worst road for animal deaths, with 30% of the 2020 total attributed to that road. The cameras would be the least invasive form of traffic management. Fencing would cost a fortune, cattle grids, underpasses would have to be installed. A huge amount of grazing would be lost. The maintenance of verges and fencing would become an ongoing cost. There is also a huge risk that villages along the route, as they would be annexed from visitors and locals. Other traffic calming measures have been tried and removed when found unsafe. While speed is not the only reason for animal accident deaths, the speed that some people feel they can cross that road is just shocking. The police have given out tickets to drivers who cross that road regularly at 70 miles an hour plus. The highest we know is 84 miles an hour. This is in the dark when the risks are at their highest. One officer alone has handed out, at time of writing this presentment, 45 tickets this year. As hard as they try, the pressure on the police means the roads can only be monitored for a few hours at a time. But they are doing a great job out there day and night. We know with our speed watch operations some of the vast speeds that people cross that road. The verderers have, of course, part-funded the speed camera van for its use on forest roads. This blatant disregard for the speed limit has to be dealt with before someone dies. We have to be seen to be proactive to this problem. Animals are not the only ones at risk now. Cyclists, dog walkers, other road users are now at much risk as the free roaming stock. If every animal that had been killed was a person, of course by now something would have been done. Anyone who's driven Hampshire or Dorset roads fitted with average speed cameras will be aware that a huge majority of drivers drive within the set speed limit. Static cameras just wouldn't work on that road. People would just slow down and then speed off. We now have to convince the PCC Donna Jones to commit to this project and give the backroom staffing to produce the tickets. The death of a commoner's animal has a huge effect on many, not just the owner. The witnesses, the police, the adjuster all suffer. Sarah Weston, who's done a huge amount of work on the same issue following the death of her pony Juma, and was responsible for getting a huge amount of local people to sign this petition, and also has her open petition. I would like to take the chance to thank Sarah for her work. I spent my New Year's Day on the side of Roger Penny Way, next to the corpses of 4 ponies, 2 of which, quite frankly, were turned inside out, with the father of the commoner who owned the animal. The effect of them is huge. This is a young commoner desperate to carry on the tradition of turning out forest stock and then hand them down to her children. What shocked me most, and you may have seen it if you'd seen the BBC TV report, some people just carried on speeding by with a total lack of recognition for the scene. Last month, another young commoner lost a pony and a sheep in the same week, both hit and runs. Multiple road deaths, where more than one animal is killed at a time, are becoming more common too. The forest stock is one of the main revenue streams for the New Forest, and this is why so many people come here. We must do everything possible we can to protect not only the stock, but the people who live and work here. I would ask you all to support the pushing through to get average speed cameras on Roger Penny Way, and in the future on the other main roads within the New Forest. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I now call on Sarah Weston, please.
Thank you all very much for allowing me to attend and for allowing me to speak. I don't have an awful lot more to add. My petition, which was open to all, has attracted, by 6 o'clock tonight, 63,702 supporters, all of whom believe that average speed cameras are necessary on the B3078 Roger Penny Way. Please add your support to this campaign. I was advised that I should avoid talking to you in an emotional way, but I knew that I could rely on Gilly to give you the facts and figures. And it seems to me that we could perhaps all do with a dose of emotion, because our animals are living, breathing and meaningful creatures with names and owners. They're not just bits of street furniture that can be replaced or compensated for. I've long been a campaigner for road safety in the forest, but my own pony Juma, a 4-year-old, was killed at dusk on the 7th of August on Roger Penny Way, at a speed that I'm not allowed to mention until the court case is over. He had 2 completely broken legs, smashed teeth, and internal injuries that meant, perhaps fortunately, that he died within 5 minutes of being hit. Others, in some ways, are not so fortunate. I've always known that people travel a little too quickly over the B3078, but after his death I became aware through speed monitoring that it's not unusual for drivers to be speeding along that road all day, every day, and at dawn, dusk and through the night when it's even more dangerous. Our animals help to manage the forest and bring in millions of tourist pounds. They're on every leaflet and every brochure, and yet they pay the price in horrendous injuries. Modern cars do modern speeds. They have modern lights and modern brakes, modern airbags and modern crumple zones. Our animals don't have that. They have nothing whatsoever to protect them other than a high-vis collar where they'll fit and where they're of the right age. Our animals must not be seen as just collateral damage in the management and enjoyment of the forest, while drivers play Russian roulette and more recently skittles with their lives. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Members, the Council may now debate the petition for up to 15 minutes. And I would like to start by asking the Leader of the Council to make any initial remarks.
Chairman, thank you, and thank you to you both for attending the meeting of the Council this evening. I'm sure that all members of the Council will share your concerns with and it's not recent animal casualties. Sadly, the casualties on this road have been going on for far too long on the Roger Penny Way. It is clear from the petitions that have been submitted that a significant number of residents and visitors to the New Forest also share your concerns. Although this council does not have the responsibility or the powers to install average speed cameras or any speed deterrent or enforcement activities on the public highway, the petition before us calls on the council to add its support to the campaign for the introduction of an average speed camera system on the B3078 Roger Penny Way. I understand from our recent communication that I've received from Donna Jones, the Police and Crime Commissioner for Hampshire, that her office is agreeable to contributing towards and supporting a feasibility study. This is clearly a very positive move forward. I would therefore like to move that the Council does add its support to this campaign, and I understand that the Deputy Leader is happy to second that motion. If the Council is in agreement to support the campaign, I will write on behalf of the Council to both the Police and Crime Commissioner as the enforcing authority, the Leader of Hampshire County Council as the Highways Authority, and the official verderer to ask that a working group is established to agree funding and commission a feasibility study for the use of average speed cameras along the full length of the Roger Penny Way. Members, I will then bring back to Council Cabinet a report setting out what support this Council may be able to provide to this working group. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. I now invite any other speakers, and I have a short list. Councillor David Harrison, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Good evening. I'd like to start by thanking the petitioners. Clearly, they put a lot of work into this. And I have to say I'm somewhat conflicted because I think what I share with every councillor is distress at the annual carnage that happens on all of the roads of the New Forest. And we're concerned here with a very emotive subject. And I always try and address issues of policy on a very scientific basis. Is what we're being presented with the best solution to the problem? And I think we need to address that because it's very easy to sign a petition. And I understand completely why many people have done that. But the problem with petitions is that they only ever give you one option. And I think that there are possibly better options. One of the weaknesses for me is that this is one solution that involves one road. And I think that what you've done here is you've identified the road where the most casualties occur. But of course, that covers just 30%, and there are 70% of casualties on other roads. And so you could put this equipment in at huge cost. And I think that there is a danger that you're missing 70% of the problem. And there's also this assumption that by reducing the average speed to 40 miles an hour, you're going to have a significant impact on reduction of accidents. And it's my contention that if you hit a pony at 40 miles an hour, you're likely to kill it in any case. So I'm not altogether sure that even if you're successful in reducing the average speed on this one road, you're going to have a significant impact on 100% of the casualties that we see on an annual basis. So I'll just mention this as an idea, but I think that if you were to select the worst roads in the New Forest for annual animal casualties, and you reduced the speed limit to 30 miles per hour, and if instead of spending all the money that average speed cameras would cost and all the technology that goes with it, if you were to invest that money in better police speed enforcement work, in much the same way that they're doing now, but more of it, then I think that that would probably get you a better outcome that is being proposed at the moment. Now that is just my view, that there is an alternative, and my fear is that if we support this motion, we're just backing one horse in this race, if that's not a terrible pun. And I think that actually a better outcome would be to look at this more holistically, so I'm taking up the full 15 minutes, take it up more holistically and try to approach it from a more scientific manner that would get a better result.
Thank you, Councillor. I've got a list here. Councillor Benison was next.
Thank you, Chairman. This road is right on my doorstep, so I see what happens on it on a daily basis. It's in the quietest part of the forest. Bramshaw Parish Council has for a number of years asked for these average speed cameras. We have tried everything on that road, humps, chicanes, none of it works. It's a long, straight road which enables drivers to just get up to 70 or 80 without even taking a breath. If they were at 40, as David has suggested, they would have the chance to stop, so an animal might not be killed. You can brake very effectively from 40 miles an hour. I'm not saying that they should be doing 40. 40 is the limit, it's not a target. We don't have to drive at 40 miles an hour. So I'm pleased that this council will support this, and I hope that it will raise enough awareness that something can be done with this road, because it's no doubt it is a death trap.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor Benison. We're a little bit short on time. Councillor Anne Sevier.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make it as brief as I can. As I live in that particular area, and as you all know, I'm a commoner and my ponies go up onto that road. You'd need police there for 24 hours a day to actually be able to do anything about the speed. Most of the accidents also can occur at night time, and I've seen horrendous speeds myself. The two ladies were asked not to be too emotive. Believe me, I've had 4 animals killed up there. You wouldn't want to have seen them. I had a lovely bay mare hit during the night, found by some holiday makers, a family with children, standing there on 3 legs and the other leg smashed to smithereens. This is not a good look for the forest, and I think it's about time that people realise we've got to do something. We really do need to do something. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I've got Councillor Glass, but very little time left.
I'll keep it very brief. I don't live in the area, but I do go along this road anyway, quite often because it's a very high price one. What I have noticed is when I go along there, I'm known for not quietly driving fast, but I do keep the speed limit down there. And I've been overtaken by tipper trucks going down to the big tip. So I think this is something practical, it's something well thought out, and if it does work here, there's nothing stopping us making it a model for other areas. So I would strongly support that and support Edward.
Thank you. Councillor Murray.
Thank you very much. I'll keep it quick. Fully support the motion that Edward has put forward. I think the work has already been done. A lot of work, lots of feasibility has been done by people who love the forest just as much as we do. So I fully welcome it, and I'll be signing your petitions as well as agreeing to Edward's motion. I would anybody talking about this, I would put a caution that we should not be doing the feasibility ourselves in this chamber. This is for people who know what they're supposed to be doing, to be making these decisions. And I think we should probably keep our opinions, like we said, without the emotion in it, because I would be worried that we would start making decisions before the information has come in. So yeah, take care.
Thank you very much. Councillor Jeremy Heron, quickly.
Thank you very much. As leader of the council will attest, my mother was always very fond of volunteering us for various jobs, and one of the jobs she kindly volunteered me for was to pick up the fallen stock on the forest. I have seen firsthand the devastation this has, not just to the animal, but to the commoner who turns up, sometimes quite a young commoner, and it's their first attempt at commoning, and to arrive at a road accident to find that their pony has been hit is quite devastating. We've tried all sorts over the year, all my life, we've tried different things to improve this. We brought in the 40-mile-an-hour speed limit. It did some improvement. It seems to be less effective now. We need to do something about it. This seems an eminently practical way, and actually, I would like to see this expanded. This is stage one. I'd like to see them across the entire forest working. So I don't think that it's something that we should debate and delay on. It's a good idea. We need to do something. Let's get on, support this recommendation, take it forward and see how it helps to save the stock on this forest and the commoning way of life. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Lane.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd just like to say, as the District Councillor for Godzilla, which is the other end of the Roger Penny Way, I'm in absolute support of this, and I would like to thank the petitioners for bringing this forward and for highlighting it to everybody, the public. We really do need to do something. We need to take action. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. And finally, Councillor Alex Wade.
Again, not to repeat what's already been said, but I do hope this is arguably the start. When most of us have to drive home through the district, where you see even dusk at dark as we get to the period now, and you see baby deer coming across the road, huge families of cows around the cars. It is a genuine concern that this could happen on any area. I do appreciate the B3078 is where we're talking about today, but where it's interesting, Councillor Harrison's point was, I do want to see if we can do things beyond this to consider it, because at the end of the day, enough is enough. And I think beyond the speed cameras, if there is more that we can push to try and make a difference, then we can. But I will be supporting the motion.
Thank you very much indeed. And that's the end of our debate. Finally, I'll invite the leader to respond to the debate.
Chairman, thank you. And I do want to respond to Councillor Harrison, because I think it is important to say that this hasn't been rushed to. I have for many years watched people work to try and resolve the issues on the B3078. And it's certainly the case that it is one of the roads, but I think it is worth noting of this interesting statistic that this is a road where 30% of the casualties occur, but the last monitoring was done, so not speed cameras or things, but the monitors that are passive that people can't see, showed that 48% of the vehicles on that road exceeded the speed limit. Now, I'm certain, and I'm sure the Commons will agree, not every accident is speed related. And accidents do happen, however careful some people are. But I do not believe that it is a coincidence that the road with one of the highest number of casualties is also a road with the highest percentage that exceeds the speed limit. So therefore, I hope that all members will support this motion.
Thank you. Members, we have a proposal from the Leader of the Council that the Council adds its support to the campaign. All those in favour of that motion, please indicate. Thank you. Any against? None. Okay. Oh, one. I would like to record the Council's thanks to both our petitioners for attending this evening and for their work in bringing an important issue before the Council. You are very welcome to stay for the remainder of the Council meeting or leave at your convenience. But that motion is carried.
Thank you very much indeed. Really appreciate it.
Agenda item 6. Report of the Cabinet, 6th of October 2021. Leader, would you move the adoption of the report of the Cabinet?
Pleased to move, Chairman.
Councillor Cleary, would you like to second?
Yes, please, Mr. Chairman.
I will call each paragraph number in the report to see if any member wishes to speak. There are recommendations for council at paragraphs 1, 2, 4, 5 and 6. Given that paragraph 6 recommends that the council passes a motion, I will ask the council to vote on this separately. Paragraph 1, Corporate Plan 2020 to 2024. Paragraph 2, Control of Asbestos Policy and Control of Contractors Policy. Paragraph 3, ICT Operations System. Paragraph 4, Joint Municipal Waste Management Strategy. Right. Paragraph 5, Cemeteries Regulations. Okay. Members, the report and recommendations for items 1 to 5 have been moved and seconded. All those in favour, please indicate. Any against? That is carried. We now move on to the final item in the report, paragraph 6, response to motion to declare a climate emergency. Members, to clarify that the recommendation before the council on this item is that the council declares a climate change and nature emergency. Do I have any speakers on this item? Councillor Alex Wade.
Thank you, Chairman. It won't surprise you that I will be speaking on behalf of Malcolm Wade, who unfortunately is not well this evening. You'll know that he's raised this raised the battle against climate change many times over the previous 2 years since his previous attempt at a climate emergency in motion. He said he would continue until he got the administration to see the dire situation we're in. The IPC report shows the seriousness of the situation far better than anyone could, and stabilising the temperature rise to between 1.5 degrees Celsius and 2 degrees Celsius will give us the current climate extremes we have at the moment, which will take countless years to rectify and still include the loss of some ecosystems. However, if we do nothing, it rises above 2 degrees Celsius, life and the environment which grows our food and the life we live on will be irrevocably damaged. Climate-related risks to health, livelihoods, food security, water supply, human security and economic growth are projected to increase with global warming of 1.5 degrees Celsius and increase further with 2 degrees Celsius at a point of no return. We need to act now, members, when without delay, if we wish to save our living environment. If it's not an emergency, I genuinely do not know what is. That impact will affect us here in the New Forest just the same as it does in other parts of the globe. And there's no lockdown to keep us safe. And this is not a political point. It's not a Liberal Democrat issue, nor Conservative, Labour or Green. It's our issue. And whilst we might disagree with you from our side in many aspects of how the authority is run, this is one area I genuinely believe we can come together. We must, as elected representatives of the New Forest, have a responsibility to work on actions to fight climate change and protect our environment. And it's for the current and our future residents of our environmentally sensitive district. We do not have a choice if we wish to survive, and of course there'll be a cost element. There are many things that we can look at with cost benefits, new ways of working, green economic actions, and areas with our genuine financial gains in becoming less carbon guzzling and more green. This will offset the expenditure to become more carbon neutral by 2030. And this council has done a good number of green actions across its service areas already. But what we have to do is take them and build on them, add to them and join it all together in a cohesive plan, which was why I welcome the presentation in the Cabinet papers I saw. And we can hit that target and spread our influence across our district to engage with residents, local companies, suppliers and organisations so that everyone does their bit to reduce climate change. So therefore, members, this is our opportunity to do the right thing together to protect our future residents and our environment. Please do support the Cabinet on this item and this motion. Thank you very much.
Councillor Carpenter.
Thank you very much. I fully support this move to declare a climate and nature emergency, and nature being a very important part of it. Our Conservative government, led by Boris Johnson, is clear that we have to urgently address this issue and is leading nationally on climate action. Hampshire County Council has made huge strides in its climate change and resilience work. And as a district council, we can make a huge local impact on environmental issues through housing, planning and other operational areas. And we can also be community champions in this respect as well, motivating our residents to action. So I therefore fully support this move to declare a climate and nature emergency.
Thank you very much. Any other speakers? Councillor David Harrison.
Chairman, there are not many occasions in my life when I wish I was a Conservative councillor. But I would have loved to have been present at your last Conservative meeting when you discussed this issue and you decided to do an absolute U-turn from your previous position of refusing to accept this motion, and then suddenly, like Damascus, you saw the light. How wonderful! But seriously, I congratulate you because you've made the right decision. Some will say we've been the slowest ship on the convoy as far as this issue is concerned. But we've got Boris right at the top, leading the way with the COP26 conference, and maybe that influenced you. We've got Hampshire County Council, which declared a climate emergency 2 years ago, and they've been working on it. And we've got the New Forest National Park Authority that declared a climate emergency with nature. And I'm very pleased indeed that you've added that to it, because that is equally important. But of course, as our leader here often reminds us, this is more than just about declaring an emergency. It is about what you actually do. And what you do and what you propose to do that will tackle this issue will get the support of the Liberal Democrats at every stage. And we'll keep pushing you as well, because I think that's the role of the opposition, isn't it? So I hope that when you leave tonight, there's a little warmth in your heart, that you have our backing, the very nucleus of the council behind you. Thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Glass.
Thank you very much. Just in reply mainly to Councillor Harrison. He may have wanted to be a Tory councillor tonight. I can honestly say my gratitude that he's not. But going on more seriously than that, we haven't just done a U-turn, not that that would matter. We've considered it. We've thought what the implications are. And when you look back at our record, and it was printed in the report for the Cabinet, the number of things that this council has already done, we took into our consideration when we originally thought that perhaps it wasn't necessary. But what we've done is taken all the things we've done again. We'll reconsider every one of those, and we'll build on that as a good foundation. So I think we're glad that the Liberal Democrats are backing us, and I hope they will join in fully backing us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right, okay. Members, the motion has been moved and seconded. All those in favour, please indicate. Thank you very much. That is carried. Agenda item 7, questions under Standing Order 22. There are none. Agenda item 8, questions to portfolio holders under Standing Order 22A. Members, there are 6 questions. I would remind you that standing orders allow for a maximum of 30 minutes in total for questions. Any questions that fall outside of the time limit will be dealt with in writing, and any member asking a question who is not in attendance will have their question dealt with in writing. Each question shall be put and answered without discussion. Each portfolio holder has a total of 3 minutes to reply. I will invite each member who has asked a question, if they have one supplementary question, which should be dealt with in a maximum of 2 minutes. Members, before I call the first question, I would like to remind all councillors to be mindful of the length of written questions they are submitting. I would encourage members to be concise in the question, avoiding where possible any lengthy preamble. As chairman, I will always seek to fit in as many questions as possible within the allotted time, and this will assist me in doing so. So I now move to question 1, which is from Councillor Alex Wade to the portfolio holder for Planning, Regeneration and Infrastructure, Councillor Diane Andrews. Councillor Wade.
I promise no preamble. The recent shortages we have seen in our shops have been ascribed to Brexit and the lack of HGV drivers. And as well as this council knows to its own cost, unlike in Europe, where drivers have facilities to park, eat and sleep and shower, the UK generally is especially bad at providing such facilities. Working alongside Hampshire County Council, what facilities can this council now provide for truck drivers to be able to park up at night safely with good facilities and ensure the confidential supply of goods to our shops and garages? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wade. Now, this issue is very topical, being raised in the transport industry news, with Logics UK suggesting that local authorities should recognise the important role in the planning process and permit applications for rest stops and parking areas in places where demand outstrips supply. Now, the National Planning Policy Framework states that planning policies and decisions should recognise the importance of providing adequate overnight lorry parking facilities, taking into account any local shortages to reduce the risk of parking in locations that lack proper facilities or could cause a nuisance. Proposals for new or expanded distribution centres should make provisions for sufficient lorry parking to cater for their anticipated use. Now, the local plan part 2 has now commenced, and that has been a recent call for sites for a range of different land uses. Now, this is a land use that could be considered as part of the local plan work. It should, however, be noted that such a use will only happen on sites where the use can be accommodated without harm to the environment, and where the landowner is willing to use their land in that way. Now, it's not a surprise that landowners tend to use land for the use that gives them the greatest return on their investment. Now, planning will consider this matter as it starts to investigate the more detailed work around the issues that local plan part 2 needs to consider to plan positively within the district. This work will inform an all-member workshop later in the year, and there will also be a discussion with Hampshire County Council to explore options for a more immediate solution. But if I can personally just put a little dash of common sense and perhaps a bit of cold water, you think of our road network. Just think of the roads we are talking about all of the time. A31, A35, B306, A326. Each one of those roads ploughs through the national park. I'll leave it there because I think it doesn't take a great deal of imagination to see where this is leading. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Do you have a supplementary? Okay, thank you very much. Then we move on to question 2. From Councillor Mark Clark to the portfolio holder for Finance, Investment and Corporate Services, Councillor Jeremy Herron.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This actually is prompted by a resident who I spoke to recently, who is a user of a food bank, and we explored his circumstances, which was rather sad. As councillors will also know by a visit to their local supermarket, food costs are soaring, and they're set to jump. Are soaring, and energy bills are set to jump 12% from October for years. A Daddy's sauce, a bottle used to be £1, now it's £1.50 as an example. Meanwhile, many of those on particularly low incomes, 5 million families who are on universal credit at the most recent count, are receiving text messages or emails that their support will be cut by £1,040 a year from next month. Poorer residents have contacted me about how they go about contacting food banks, which I've unfortunately been able to help. This is the largest overnight cut to Social Security since the Second World War, affecting more than 1 in 5 households in some regions. The kicker to working people on low incomes, 37% of those on universal credit, is that government are set to increase both employer and employee national insurance contributions by 1.25% from April 2022 to pay for social care. This is effectively a 2.5% pay increase, or rather tax increase, as the incidence of employer contributions are likely to be passed on to the employees in the form of lower wages or reduced wage increases in the long run. Those affected by both will lose out by £1,290 on average, even before the likely effects of employer NICs on take-home pay. The combined effect of these policies impact the poorest households the most, which there are in the New Forest. Therefore, have the Council undertaken any research as to how many households will be affected by these changes within the New Forest?
Thank you. I think, Councillor Clark, you have put one of the most thought-provoking questions that I've ever had put to me as my time as a portfolio holder. Poverty within the country and within this district is a very real issue, and we could ask if in the 21st century this is acceptable. A cleverer person than me once posed the question, how much money should be taken from a person who's worked for it so to be given to someone who has not worked? Within your own question, Councillor, you have actually answered the question in the fact that you have raised the issue of increased taxation as well as a removal of what was a temporary, and I stress temporary, increase to the benefit service. It was clearly made as such, and it is not a cut, it is a return to what was previously set out. I know that the Liberal Democrats are not good at maths, but really you do have to balance the books. Our Prime Minister has got this one right. We must not allow business to rely on cheap labour from abroad, and we need to enhance and support employment within this country, and that is the way forward. Strive for greater employment, upskill and value of workforces, value employees and pay them accordingly. The effect of this is less people on benefit, higher income from taxation. As a result, we can be in a better place to support those in need within our society. In the short term, 6,750 households in the district receive universal credit, of which just under 50% are working. We will continue to support them, signposting them to other agencies and to charities within the district. And we will look to deliver our share of the £500 million household support fund that the government recently announced, the money being made available to councils according to the government website this month. We will continue to support those most in need, but we do have to do this in a cost-effective way and ensure that it is affordable to all. Thank you.
Supplementary?
No, Mr. Chairman, I'm quite fascinated and interested in the numbers that Mr. Councillor Heron gave to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Then move on to question 3 now from Councillor Philip Dowd to the portfolio holder for Housing and Homelessness Services, Councillor Jill Cleary.
Thank you, Chairman. Around 10% of British homes are in the C band or better for energy efficiency performance. It costs around £270 a year more to run a D-band home and another £650 more to run an E-band home. These figures predate the current price rises. People living in poor housing and fuel poverty are more likely to need NHS services and GP appointments to treat cold and damp-related conditions. You have a plan for new build. What is your vision for tackling private rental and privately owned properties in the New Forest district? Thank you.
Thank you for my question. Members will be aware of this Council's commitment to the private housing sector in our district with publication of our private sector housing strategy in 2020, which included a specific priority on energy efficiency. This priority is set out actions to improve access to energy efficient advice and funding for landlords, renters and homeowners, whilst our private sector housing team ensure the minimum energy efficiency standards are maintained during their everyday housing standards work. Members of the Greener Housing Task and Finish will also be familiar with our forthcoming draft Greener Housing Strategy, which builds further on the initiatives and activities contained within the private sector housing strategy. We have also recently joined a number of consortia involving other local authorities to help deliver improved energy efficiencies to our private sector. The first is a partnership with Portsmouth City Council and other local authority districts in Hampshire and Sussex to formulate a joint bid to request £32 million from central government funding rounds. If successful, this will provide up to 2,660 households across the region with access to funding to increase the energy performance of private homes. The second is a partnership with Hampshire County Council and other local authority districts in Hampshire to take part in further investigatory work to identify target areas in Hampshire where our joint resources could be better directed to promote and link up with funding schemes for the benefit of the private sector. The work will also complement the findings of our private sector housing survey and a recently commissioned project in partnership with New Forest Citizens Advice, Southampton University, local food banks and voluntary support services to establish the prevalence of fuel and food poverty in our district. This project has just delivered its finding and officers are beginning to analyse this data in order to establish targeted actions to help address the issues. And finally, our very first Landlord Forum has just been scheduled for the 18th of November. Through regular forum meetings and engagement, we aim to inform landlords of the greener housing funding schemes, ways to make property more energy efficient and to improve standards generally for tenants. Members, I am sure that our strategic actions, coupled with our Council's wide commitment to greener initiatives, will provide significant benefits to our residents in the coming years and, of course, to our environment.
Supplementary?
No further questions, thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, question 4 is to be dealt with in writing, as Councillor Malcolm Wade is not here tonight. So we'll move on to question 5 from Councillor Mahmood Kangarani to the portfolio holder for Environment and Coastal Services, Councillor Steve Davis. Councillor Kangarani.
Thank you. Can the portfolio holder advise what further action is being taken to mitigate the further impact of residents following the green bag and bottle collection delays? And have we seen any engagement from the recent push for heavy good vehicles drivers? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kangarani, for that question. You will already have heard Councillor Heron's statement, of course, about waste collection services. I can only repeat a large part of that statement. We will keep working towards the most effective waste collection service for our community with the resources we currently have available to us. Our recruitment of HGV drivers will continue, and we will review our current service arrangement at the Cabinet meeting on the 3rd of November. I have to say I'm particularly pleased to report, though, that we do in fact have 7 applicants from within NFDC who've put their names forward for HGV driver training. I'm sure you'll agree that this is a very good example, a very welcome opportunity for career progression within NFDC. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any supplementary?
I will ask a question what man had been, might not be able to answer. Obviously, winter is coming, and we need greater roads and spread the salt. Do we have any, within the council, have any role in delivering this salt or grits for the roads?
Councillor, I believe that's a part of Hampshire County Council's Highways Department rather than district.
Thank you very much. And the final question tonight from Councillor Hilary Brand to the Leader of the Council, Councillor Edward Heron.
Does the leader agree? Thank you. That council businesses through virtual meetings during the pandemic proved to be of benefit to officers and councillors? And does he believe that pushing for hybrid meetings would engage the wider community more? And does he accept that this will help our wider strategy for reducing the council's footprint? Thank you.
Chairman, thank you. I think that the use of virtual meetings during the pandemic was not only vital to allow local government and government itself to continue, and I certainly think that that led to a new level of engagement from those who perhaps wouldn't have ever have thought of watching a council meeting before, some for the right reasons, some for the wrong reasons. I think we all remember a certain parish council. But with seriousness, I think, to move on in your question, I do think it was a great benefit to officers and councillors, but I also think something was lost in that way of working. And I think there is an atmosphere and a way that one works in a meeting like this that we never replicated on Teams. So I think, to my part, the answer is that how we work during the lockdowns is not the way we should work in the future, but how we work before the lockdowns is not how we should work in the future. There has to be a way that we can find that we maximise those benefits for engagement, to the environment, to people's lives and work-life balance. But equally, we get back the atmosphere and the debate that we have in a meeting such as this. To the specifics, this council did respond to a consultation some time ago, asking government to have greater flexibility. As members know, we are constrained by law as to what meetings we can have virtually. And we did respond with that, highlighting that we would like to have the option of choosing virtual or hybrid meetings. And I certainly think that should we have that option, it would allow us to have our own debate as to where that balance lies between convenience, the environment, and the ability to have these face-to-face and atmospheric debates and meetings. And I have so missed sparring with Councillor Harrison. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to respond to his comments earlier on climate change, but I'm sure we will have another opportunity. Thank you, Chairman.
Supplementary, Councillor Brown? Thank you very much. In that case, we can move on now to agenda item 9, which is a date of meeting change. I will move the proposed change to the April 2023 meeting, date of council, as outlined on the agenda, and ask the Vice Chairman to second.
Pleased to second that, Chairman.
Members, I trust that that change is agreed. Thank you. Agenda item 10, membership of committees and panels. Do the political groups wish to propose any changes to committees or panels? Councillor Blunden.
Thank you, Chairman. No changes from the Conservative group.
And Councillor Rebecca Clark.
No changes on our side. Thank you, Chairman.
And agenda item 11, any other items which the Chairman decides are urgent? There are none. I therefore thank everyone for attending and declare the meeting closed.